I have the pleasure of introducing you to JD Gershbein. I was introduced to JD almost 20 years ago. And what's really interesting is, I've always followed him and I've always been interested in what he does because he's so creative. But, especially right now, we talk a lot about human connection, authentic human connection, and how it's so critical to business and career survival. But today, I mean, look at what's happening right now. We're navigating something that just feels, a bit artificial and automated. And I think we're seeing that more and more. But what JD has done, he spent his career focusing on behavioral science, leadership development, and personal branding. He's a trained improviser from Chicago's Second City, which is fun. And he's a media psychologist by trade, and he's a master of professional self-design. JD has really, gone beyond the labels of specialist or guru, and he's adopted the persona of a style guide. And if you see his logo, you would agree with me. It's creative and it's fun. And and so today he's gonna, address with us a really modern problem, how to generate visibility. We all know that right now in job search, it's about visibility and building trust, especially given AI. And so thank you, JD, so much for being with us.
Well, Christy, you and I connected on LinkedIn on September 8th, 2010, and it's only taken us almost 16 years to finally collaborate. So, such is the
Rub
power
it
of
in, rub it
LinkedIn.
in.
You bring people into your professional orbit. They kind of stay there for a while. They sit dormant, and then it takes something, some kind of prodding, some kind of reminder, some kind of alert to let you know that you were meant to do this in the first place. And that's how it happened. I saw Christy in my notifications, prompted me. That's how LinkedIn operates, on a series of prompts, and reached out to her. And well, here we are. So if this doesn't go well, blame LinkedIn.
It's so funny. But JD, there's so much to cover, and I know we're going to have a challenge getting through much of it, but we're going to do the best we can because it's so important right now for people to be authentic and to show their true self on LinkedIn and develop trust because that's what we're all, looking to do. So you're getting ready to head into, 20 years on LinkedIn and being a LinkedIn expert and an educator and a business advisor. You know the medium so well. And you know what's interesting? You've recently leaned into this identity as a media psychologist rather than just a platform specialist, which I think is very timely. And, with everything going on, how turbulent, job search is challenging, you know, business is challenging. And, so why is it more important for a professional to understand the psychology of the LinkedIn platform rather than the algorithm? Because we know that the algorithm's there.
Great lead in question to get us going, Christy. My psychology training has always been running in the background. I'm not a practicing industrial organizational psychologist. I do have a master's degree in it. But when LinkedIn came along, it wasn't about what are the underlying or underpinning mechanisms about this. Individuals and companies wanted strategies and tactics to move them forward. We're a very shortcut crazed society. We're always looking for the techniques, the tricks, the tips, the workarounds, and the hacks to just get us through, which is why our upcoming AI conversation is so prevalent and relevant. But for me, I've always appreciated the cognitive aspects of the site and social media in general. I felt it came along at the right time for me. I'm hardwired for it. I appreciate it. I was willing to spend the time and immerse myself in deep study of it. And now I bring to you and your enlightened community almost 20 years of observations on the human condition. And it's not just about how we position and posture ourselves for the business or career opportunities now. It's about the how-to piece, how we do this. What are our thoughts and actions around it? We know we have to build out this document called a LinkedIn profile. We know we have to accumulate a LinkedIn network that ideally serves and supports us, and ideally we can serve and support them. But the disconnect lies in between those first two and this all-important third pillar, which is engagement and how we extend ourselves on the site, how we reach out to others. And I think that's where the greatest opportunity for someone like myself is understanding all of the ologies, the psychology, the sociology, the anthropology, and really the aesthetics behind how we present ourselves on LinkedIn. And you're right, authenticity, which some people may be sick and tired of hearing about it. We really started to hear about it during the pandemic, but it really is our competitive advantage because everything around us is getting so synthetic and artificial.
You're so right. And for so many people, it's difficult to think about how to do that, right? It's like, how do we really do that? So let's start with some of the basics. You talk about the importance of establishing, we all know that we have to establish a LinkedIn presence. And being recognizable online
Mm.
as professional and our identity for an executive or someone in business. How does one curate the presence that feels sophisticated and authentic without losing themselves and sounding just like everyone else?
It goes back to what you said at the outset, and that is the mindset shift that's necessary. It requires moving from a place of LinkedIn is something I have to do to LinkedIn is something that I want to do. And really going in with the idea that you're not just trying to satisfy some kind of list of tasks or tick boxes off a checklist. I mean, you're really trying to move the needle. You're trying to create little wins that may lead to a bigger win down the road. And LinkedIn is a slow incremental build. So when we talk about having the profile and building the presence, the profile is this central core of information that we put out there about ourselves. The presence is something that drapes over it, something that we build, something that we integrate into what we do on LinkedIn that gives us the idea that we're just not a billboard or a vapor, but we really do exist in the online world. Problem for most people is the acculturation piece. Many are not willing to put themselves out there in a way to be taken seriously as they would want, and they don't know how to build authority or engineer a network or even compose an approach message. And that's where we have to transition. Is the profile is not a static resume. The network is not just a list of names and thumbnails that we see from time to time. And outreach is not just trying to get an in or trying to curry favor. So when you look at the title of this program, The Pursuit of Trust, that is our daily challenge. We have to pursue trust before the transaction, before the job offer, before the invitation to connect is accepted. How do you build trust? It's the singular most difficult piece of LinkedIn we have going for us today. In an age of mis and disinformation, putting actual, factual, believable, realistic information out there about ourselves is our challenge. And that's where my work is, in helping folks curate their narrative. So it's not just about here's what you did, here's where I worked, but it's about the current actual value you bring to an organization and your vision for the future. So few profiles out there talk about a future vision. But if you can talk about what you aspire to do, what you intend to do, what you're built to do, that is going to move the needle for you. That's what's going to raise the eyebrows. That's what's going to get you the invitation to connect. That's what's going to give you the gig.
You know what's interesting? So a resume, you don't really have that latitude in a resume at all, right?
No, the
I
resume is
mean,
a
it
static document.
it
It's
it
Latin.
is. Well, and but but what we talk about, is you want to see a personality on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And you want to, because everyone, other than that, it's just, hey, there's, a name and a title and job history. And it's so vanilla, and nobody, and then you're looking at just requirement to requirement. A recruiter's looking for, a CFO with XYZ experience and in the local area. And it's just so I don't know, robotic and
Sanitized.
sanitized. And so, but what we're talking about is to really express yourself in a professional way.
Hmm.
And we're not talking about a TikTok thing, right? We want something more polished and professional. And we want people to see us. And we
Correct.
want them to see us in the right way. And, I mean, so now enter in AI, and AI is everywhere, and people are using AI, and without knowing, they're looking, smelling, and feeling just like everyone else. And when they think that they're being unique, and that's not exactly what they're doing. And everyone, most people know we have to generate content. But the content that's being created is also very sterilized and similar. And it doesn't necessarily have that personality pop. And and automated capture tools and note takers, and every Zoom call you get to record things and then decipher it. Um and you've been really vocal about technology disruption and human connection and all that erodes the foundation of trust, you know, for a very long time. You know, uh, and you have to establish that even before the relationship starts, right?
Well, you get to the core of the personal branding conversation and how we truly differentiate ourselves in the oft-cited sea of sameness. I think we've heard that term a bit, and certainly the AI platforms are using sea of sameness. For the record, I was using it before all of this technology, and I use a lot of M dashes, but don't mistake my writing for machine generated, please. It's all looking and sounding the same out there. Uh, the great marketing tagline of cutting through the clutter, rising above the noise. It's disastrous at this point to go out there and promise that to people because they won't. There are no virality miracles. And one thing I noticed, and we can talk about the pandemic, Christy, as the great inflection point here, because that was the signal for a lot of people to just activate. It was the wake up call. We saw so much activation on LinkedIn. People who had postponed or neglected the platform for years were suddenly streaming into it, rewiring their profiles, taking on dozens, hundreds, thousands of people into their networks through this 2, 3 year period where we were sequestered and sheltered at home. So we've built these networks. We almost re-engineered them to a point. What have we learned? How have we been able to parlay that into some kind of opportunity? Well, you'd have to ask each individual, but now we're rethinking a lot of that because what that did was it just put us out there creating content. AI came along at a time where people were struggling, or maybe the well ran dry. They didn't know what to put out there about themselves. So they turned to the machines to do the thinking for them. We outsourced our cognition. How do you like that term? We let the machines do the thinking for us. We put it out there as our own. There's no intellectual property rights on machine generated content. It's an unregulated industry. So obviously, people were to take this as us. Uh, that was the attribution. That was the assignment. But now I'm backtracking on that. I see a lot of people who I know could not put out content the way they're putting it out. It's just not them. There's something very alien about it, very strange to it. It's not a professional vibe at times, and we're trying to get away from some of that. So letting your personality seep in a little bit in everything, not just in the outreach, but in the profile, in the way that you handle a 30-minute Zoom call. I mean, if you don't match up, if you don't align with what folks are reading about you in your profile, and you come on Zoom and it's just different, it's a different vibe. It creates a disconnect, and it's going to militate against you.
And you're right. And so for many of the people on the call, they're looking for a job, and they're on the hunt for an executive role or a board seat. And um, how is the best way for people to differentiate themselves? Because it's like, how can you do this? I mean, what makes sense? I mean, I'd really like to dive into, like, you know what should people think about first, and how do they go about it? And because all we have on LinkedIn is our headlines, our banner, our about section, and our experience, right? And so if you take that, how does one really do it in an authentic way and be able to come up in the rankings so that they're seen by a recruiter?
Correct. There's only so much we can do when it comes to controlling our personal brand and how we shape and guide perceptions. In fact, you don't get a chance to shape and guide perceptions until you're on a connection level with someone. When you break LinkedIn down to the molecular building blocks of what the site does and what it promises, I look at LinkedIn as just a bridge to a meaningful conversation. I'll repeat for impact. LinkedIn is simply a bridge to a meaningful conversation. Powerful pause. That means that all of this other stuff we do, the personal branding, the social selling, the social networking, the storytelling, all of these things that are thrown at us, the content creation, bowing to the algorithm, all of this is around the mission of getting a meaningful conversation with a decision maker or someone who can lead you to a decision maker. You're right. There's only so much we can do. By unique proposition of value, we mean what is it that makes us different? Well, your UPV could sound exactly like someone else's UPV. They're borrowing from the same job descriptions and integrating them into their profile. So that's how this field gets a little commoditized. To truly stand out, and I mean to truly stand out, there's got to be something different. The first piece is showing that you care. That means a professional grade headshot. It means really plumbing the depths of who you are as an individual to create a headline that at the top is going to elicit a response, a call to action, or scrolling down the page to learn more about you. The banner image, which many people still consider a throwaway item on LinkedIn, the visual aesthetics of the site, and I study aesthetics and self-design, this is what gets people learning more about you. The more they can learn about you, the longer their dwell time on your profile page, and that's all I care about, are visits to my profile page and the dwell time, how long people spend on it. They walk away with some idea of you that can lead to a meaningful conversation. And how we get people into those meaningful conversations becomes the challenge. It really does. And think about what it takes when you're sitting in front of a blinking cursor trying to figure out how you're going to approach someone on LinkedIn. Maybe you've connected, maybe you haven't. Maybe you're just trying to give them a gentle nudge and do something like accept your invitation to connect or get a follow-up message and get a Zoom call on the calendar. That's outreach. It's challenging. You do that by surrounding yourself with the best possible content to bolster your narrative. You really build out the visual power of the profile. You basically curate the exhibit on yourself. That's what I have done. And I have my profile link there. You can follow along. We'll take a look at some other profiles. But there's got to be something. And sometimes it's just an intangible piece, the it factor that keeps people on your page interested. And of course, they're vetting you for an opportunity. So ideally, you've got the hiring manager, the recruiter, the ears to the decision maker out there looking at your profile and uh, making an educated guess that you could be someone worth interviewing.
Well, and I like that. The but it's like you want somebody to get a sense of you, right? And I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile. I mean, it's stunning, right? It's captivating. And so, people are going to be drawn in just because of, what you've written and that amazing
I
banner
hope
behind
so.
you.
I hope so.
And
And I'll continue by saying what I do for clients is they've got to sound different than a corporate robot. So you had mentioned that at
mhm.
the outset. How do you bring in the verbiage? How do you bring in the visual cues? How do you bring in the I mean, how do you create the vibe? And it is in the writing. It the problem is that many people don't know how to do that type of positioning. So they default to overt sales behaviors, or they go safe and they put the corporate speak out there, and they sound like everyone else. They're dynamic,
well,
creative, reliable,
here
dependable,
and
versatile. I mean, we all know
S-
that.
So, but in defense of those people, because I mean, I'm one of those individuals. I'm much more timid
Mm-hmm.
than, people think I might be. But, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of nervous and tentative about putting myself out there. And I've gotten better over the years. But it's like I don't know what to say. I don't want to be judged. I want people to, feel my warmth. I want people to sense my authenticity. And, but I don't want to be corny, And so, I mean, when we think about this, it's like AI, is easy to use to an extent, but you talked before about the vibe, and it doesn't have that same vibe. So AI will likely never have my vibe, right? No matter what I prompt it to say.
Well, that's true. I mean, a machine can only do so much for you. They're trying to assimilate human emotions through it. Supposedly, the more you do it, the more familiarity the LLG gains with you, or the LLM gains with you, the more it starts to sound like you. But still, it's missing something. And the problem with the timing here, here's an interesting timing issue in our chronology. It came at a time where people were starting to find their authentic outreach. That we were starting, when we came out of COVID, we were really taught the value of human a connection that really turns the needle. Okay. And we have all these people in our network. How do we reach them? How do we segment the network? How do we form cold approaches? How do we move those to lukewarm approaches, to hot approaches? How do we get opportunities? And AI came at a time when it started interfering with all of that. And we went with it. So now all of these approaches, these emails, these messages, these posts, these comments, they're all starting to have this inauthentic feel to it. So the authenticity comes through. I think that if you can put more of yourself out there, embolden yourself just enough to take that other step or two outside the comfort zone, because we know, Christy, there's no growth in the comfort zone. The more
Exactly.
you shed whatever imposter syndrome behaviors may be out there, and there's a lot of it out there, social anxiety disorder, uh, people have aversive behaviors to LinkedIn, the more they start to lean in and start to feel more psychologically comfortable with what they're doing, uh, the more opportunities they'll generate.
So, what are some um specific human markers that are inadvertently being stripped away that could cost people, you know, marketability, or for people to think that or believe that they're authentic?
Creativity, ingenuity, the ability to think on one's feet, the ability to be extemporaneous.
See, and that's hard for so many people.
It
I mean,
certainly
it
is.
really
It
is.
certainly is. We're getting to the point where we're going to have to defend ourselves in front of people and make sure that we're not deep fake versions of ourselves, that we're really communicating what people saw. Um, you've got internal communication leads at companies that are just synthesizing pools of AI generated content and putting it out there as the company voice. So it's not just the individuals, it's the companies that are doing this as well to achieve the so-called thought leadership status, which, by the way, I'm not a big fan of the term thought leadership. It's been diluted through overuse.
Well, it's
But
overused,
at the
yeah.
same time, we're out there trying to find this unique pathway, this in. How do we how do we forge an inroad? That's the work. And the future of work. The future of work is convincing people that you're worthy of their time and attention.
But
Because
how do we do that?
it's it ain't easy. You have to be so active. You have to have this incredible flurry of kinetic activity going so that for every 10 people you reach, ideally you might get one or two who are interested in taking the next step with you. This is out of classic sales training to a certain point, how every touch point can settle into ratios. So if a salesperson calls on 10 people, they may get meetings with 3 of them. They may actually close one of them. Well, you have to bring that kind of mathematics into LinkedIn use. If you're not active, if you're not truly measuring your effectiveness by how many people you're reaching, it's very difficult to expect results. So you have the profile, you've built the infrastructure. It's good. It sells you. It frames you well. But now you have to go out there and actually engage with people. The algorithm tells us that we have to be its friend if we're going to get our content seen. So that means you start to somehow get on the radar of people you're trying to meet. That's another great inherent challenge of LinkedIn today, is getting people to notice you. There's 2 overarching strategies on LinkedIn. One is the get found strategy. The other is the get noticed strategy. Get found, get noticed. And ideally, they sit on a continuum. And ideally, you want to be somewhere on LinkedIn where you're getting found and getting noticed. For a job seeker, it's more of the get found piece, because then there are keyword strategies that you bring to the profile, and you import certain descriptions and words that are industry specific to try to get into the searches of recruiters. Different strategy than the creator that's trying to build authority on the platform strictly through content and is not looking to be accessed by recruiters, but still looking to be found by people who could retain them. So the visibility issue, how we pursue visibility, is through content that is inherently ours, that maybe has been scaffolded to some extent by AI, but still has to sound like you. If the content does not sound like you, recognize it. Be your own self-editor. Don't put it out there. Nobody's going to read a lot of what appears to be fabricated content. They're going to lean into something that interests them, that has a retina popping featured image that draws them in. Any way that you can draw people into yourself. Play the inbound game, which is really what I do. I watch what people are doing. Everybody's pitching. There's so much huckstering going on LinkedIn right now. Just everywhere you turn, people are selling you. LinkedIn, which has a zero tolerance policy towards spam, is just letting so much through the floodgates. I mean, everybody's selling. No, I don't need web development. No, I don't need a franchise opportunity. I mean, it's insane what's going on. Nobody, who's buying? Who's going to buy these people? The way to do it is a bootstrapping, incremental, slow build toward gaining not just trust, but favor of people. And it's done through outreach. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You find your influence when you need it the most. You just sit there. It'll come. And then you just start typing, get a little keyboard courage, and Write the approach letter, write the message, write the follow-up, invite someone to go on a 30-minute Zoom call with you. What's the worst that could happen? They may introduce you to someone who can hire you. Not bad.
Well, and and for so many people, it's how to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
and even through email, people struggle, right? It's like, they send an email to somebody, and the way I look at it sometimes is they're trying to sell themselves and convince somebody that they'd be good for a position.
Mm-hmm.
But what I feel is, I don't know, maybe it's not the right way, but is I want to connect with somebody, and get them to want to connect with me, um, because of something, I don't know, more emotional. Like, oh
Mm-hmm.
gosh, she seems like a really great person. I'd like to get to know her. That's what would be meaningful to me. And so if I
Yeah.
write something, and, it's so I think of job seekers. It's like,
Yeah.
you're looking for a job and you want to reach out to the hiring manager. How else do you reach out other than say, hey, you have a position open. I'm really interested in,
Well, that's a great question. How do you reach out without not sounding like a desperate or survivalist job seeker?
yeah.
Uh, and to your point earlier about making emotional connections, emotional connecting is significant on LinkedIn. However, let's remember that LinkedIn is a social networking site for business, for professionals, and there should be some kind of professional decorum. There has been this peeling away of some of the layers that made us, very siloed and ivory towered, but still, we have to retain a certain business persona to what we do. There are a lot of people that are coming forward and being highly personal on LinkedIn. I think we've seen that. I think we've seen the too much sharing going on as well. So finding that happy medium of putting out ostensible value that you purport to be rightfully yours, that was not amended by machines. It's rightfully yours, your viewpoint, your point of view, and drawing people to that, playing the inbound game. Forget the spray and pray approach. So what you were saying about, finding that the emotional connection is learning about people. If they've provided enough information on their profile, use that to your advantage. If it's a true advantage, if it's not contrived, if they're putting out content, let them see you on the content. There's a concept. You'll love this, folks, and you can look it up. It's called propinquity. Propinquity, JD? Yes, propinquity. PROPINQUITY. It's a behavioral science concept. It's the art of making yourself seen, of sidling up to people, of letting them know you exist out there in the ether. People are putting out content. They want one thing and one thing only. We have we're skewed toward vanity metrics. Everybody's doing it for the likes, for the comments, for the reposts. Sometimes they don't manage the engagement that ensues, but they feel all puffy chested because they've put out a post that got 4-figure likes and they think they're really rocking LinkedIn. But the reality is that vanity metrics without meaningful human engagement is just content for content's sake. I know a lot of folks that don't get nearly those type of views, who do very well on LinkedIn and score big wins because they're managing the engagement. They're reaching out to the people who share their posts. Not necessarily on the post, maybe, but in the direct message center. They're scheduling meetings with them. They're getting to know these folks. They're building the relationship, that kind of thing. And again, remember, LinkedIn is a bridge to a meaningful conversation. Content is designed to get you there or accelerate it or shorten the curve. But at the same time, what you put out there has to be a measure of who you are. The algorithm now on LinkedIn notices when content that is put out by an individual that is astray from how they present in the profile, the reach of those posts may be suppressed. They're leaning in toward the didactic, educational content now. So you do want to educate people as to the value you provide. for job seekers, keyword would be contributions to culture, contributions to organizational culture. What do you bring to the company? How do you do it the way that nobody else can do it? And when you get to the core of how you stand out, what your differentiators are, what makes you unique, and you're able to express that and bring people to that profile, they will be ideally more inclined to have a conversation with you. So I talk about creating the propinquity bridge, just moving into the
That's a great
field,
word.
moving into the field of vision of people. This is the artistic piece of LinkedIn. How are you going to do it? Well, set up the infrastructure, your profile, and if you can't do it yourself, for gosh sakes, I'm here for you. You set up your profile, bring people to the profile, let them read about you. That's the gateway to more knowledge about you. And if you present well on the profile page, guess what? It will convert to meaningful conversations. Most of them don't because they're just glorified sales pitches with corporate sales speak or direct takes from the resume. So that's the key. The more propinquity bridges you build, the greater the likelihood you'll keep your calendar full with good calls, good meetings.
So what you're saying is just be ourselves, right? It's not
That'll
having too much
work. That'll work,
scripted.
Christy.
Yeah. And
Are you being
but
yourself
not
right now as we speak? Are you
I
authentic?
I
Oh,
think so.
okay.
I mean, I know that I can only be me. Um every time I've tried to be someone else, it just doesn't work. But
I've tried to be other people too. It doesn't work for me. It's not a good look on me.
yeah, it but it's like AI is getting better and better,
Mhm.
right? And but how can we have the confidence to just be ourselves? I really want to dive into like, you know, some people's profiles to see, okay,
Mhm.
how are they presenting themselves and how could they maybe change it?
Right. And before we get to those, it really does fall under Freud's version of iceberg theory. The iceberg has become a popular metaphor. I see it a lot out there on content, and I think y'all know it by now. You've got the waterline here, and you've got the tip of the iceberg, and you've got this field below the iceberg. Above the waterline is what people see. Below the waterline is what people don't see. And what's below the waterline is typically vast and deep
Mm.
and thick and huge and cluttered. While the tip of the iceberg is just, okay, we see, we know you've got this, you've been there, you've worked here, you've done that. And a lot of the psychological trauma and friction that has gone into who we are as professionals today, we don't share that. Now, some people are sharing it, but you have to draw the line. I do play in the leadership sandbox, and I'm interested in leaders going out there being very fortified and very confident and very grounded and humble. And that's what they should be displaying on their profiles. So you probably want to look at a few profiles, right? And we do have permission from two folks in our audience today
Yes.
who have granted me access to their profiles, right? So
Yeah.
I
No, I'm
suppose
really excited.
I should get there.
I think so because I think if people can really see like, what they have and maybe what they could have. And I told you I wasn't brave enough for you to look at mine.
Okay. Are we
All
good?
right.
Do we have a screen
Yes,
share
we
going?
do. We
All
do.
right. So Bill, thank you for being one of our two guinea pigs here today. And Bill,
And
you're
Bill's our number one fan, so it's quite
well,
appropriate.
there you go. So, I mean, technically, when you think of the psychology of a LinkedIn profile review, there are things that we do on a very surface level. I mean, just imagine yourself when you get to someone's page in that second or two before it uploads. So, a couple things. The eye is naturally drawn to this part of the page, and it's no secret that LinkedIn realizes that that's where the neuroscience is in this left corner where you have the headshot and you have the banner. And this is superb, what Bill has done. The aesthetics of his page are good. And someone like myself, I'm a bit of a profile snob, I'll be honest with you. I like it already. Professional headshot, warm, welcoming, professional expression, great banner image. The key to the banner image is finding something that's compelling and interesting that fits into this rectangular compartment, because the activity, the eye is going to naturally be drawn left to right. So when the page downloads, you'll notice that that headshot comes up a nanosecond before everything else does. The way that it's coded, I see headshots coming up just a split second before everything else does. So I'm on it. My eye is trained to be here, and it's trained to be in the right place on mobile as well, because 75 to 85%, depending on who you read, of the use of LinkedIn is mobile. I love the image because it's very subliminal. Bill's a financial executive, and I see finance here. I see networking. I see coffee. I see interaction. I see exchange. I see human to human communication here. This is a powerful image. Kudos to you, Bill. The professional headline, which is the most fertile area of search underneath your name. This is where a lot of the spring loading and keywording must go in the profile, especially for folks who are looking to attract recruiters and increase their likelihood of getting on their search engine lists. So Bill here has keyworded the profile. It's become convention to separate keyword areas with vertical spacers, which we call pipes. Those vertical lines, they're called pipes. And a couple things. It signals not just to recruiters, but everyone else that this is how we're condensing and synopsizing the information about us, that we do want to fall into search. So this is a hallmark of the get found strategy. So we know that we've got capable financial leadership coming from Bill before we even scroll down here. Now, a couple things to notice is that through the years, another outgrowth from COVID is that LinkedIn feels our activity on the site and how we maneuver about the platform has become important and an integral piece of the profile search. So now you've got highlights up here, you've got activity up here. Right underneath the About section is the activity, but it's right here where you want people to stick. So the interesting thing about the review is, for most laptops, when you scroll down, I don't mean to give anybody motion sickness by scrolling too fast, but when you scroll down here, you'll start to see the tip of the activity log, the iceberg, so to speak. And you can see here that Bill is formatting his posts in a way that is going to be packaged for quick uptake here. So he's got very nice continuity here in how he's active on LinkedIn. But it's the About section that really is going to drive the thinking during the review, and it's going to be the measure of dwell time on a profile. The philosophy/psychology of my About section is a paragraph approach that is storytelling, that is designed to get people from sentence to sentence. There are a lot of people that I know like to scan lists. And in fact, busy recruiters would appreciate a profile like Bill's with the checklist emoji, which, by the way, is a little commonplace, I have to say, Bill. It is a bit commoditizing, but it and the headings here, the how I did it, the what I did. It's a first-person profile. I favor third-person, omniscient narrative, but basically you get the gist here. You know you've got Bill positioned before you start scrolling down the About section. And each of these sentences are designed to ideally support the one before it. But when we get here, we know that we're keywording the profile, but I believe that there could be so much more to Bill's story that could be fleshed out here. In my opinion, it's just a little bit of wasted space, only because it's just a listing of qualifications and skill sets and expertise areas. It would be wise to integrate the true core competencies into a couple of paragraphs here and have headings on each of these paragraphs, which is the way I favor it. I feel that if people are going to spend any time at all, it's going to be on my About section, and that's where I want the core narrative on me to be. So that's what I do. And then here's his activity. I I I see that it's been a while since he's been active on LinkedIn posting. We can also access his comments, so recruiters can get a feel for folks as to how they respond on posts. And this is why it's so careful to take measure in how we comment on the posts of others. And then we can also look and see what images are associated with the content that people are providing. And then when we get down to experience, Bill is in a current role, it would appear. And here is where we have gone back again, and we have a lot of keywording going on in the profile, but I really don't get a sense exactly of what the value proposition is on the organizational level here. I
Well,
don't.
I'm in transition, and
You're
this
right,
is sharing with recruiters what I'm looking for. So
right. Um, yeah, and there's a couple different schools of thought as to how to put yourself out there when you're in transition. Are you doing any consulting?
well, not paid consulting, no, not at all.
Okay. A lot of people become interim consultants while they're looking for their next role, which is acceptable, I believe. I think by now, even recruiters and high end hiring managers know that people have to make ends meet during a period of transition. But at the same time, there are ways to communicate your role, the role that you want, without using terms like seeking. I tend to stay away from seeking, searching, looking for the next great opportunity. It's transitional language. You have all of these skill sets that you've listed, combining them into a singular paragraph or talk track that positions you as a major contributor to organizational culture. You are looking to lend your talents to a progressive, forward-thinking company in the such and such industry. Things like that. Uh, Employer-centric language, like you understand the employer problems. You understand what their pain points are and why they should bring in someone like yourself. Perhaps a breakdown in their current financial function. Perhaps their last CFO wasn't the cross-functional collaborator they thought. Things like that. More financial demands, more need for budgeting, for forecasting, for tax planning with changing tax laws. So I mean, you want to wrap around the position you're searching for and incorporate that language here, but also in a narrative that begins here. That's first paragraph about section stuff. Bringing in that detailed picture of your demonstrated history, success, current value, what you bring to the table today, and where you're going moving forward. What the company can achieve as a result of retaining you, hiring you. I just like to use, Christy, I know you look at a lot of these profiles, a lot of
Oh, yeah.
resumes. I just like to stay away from job seeker language. I really do, because especially when you're looking for a C-suite opportunity, we know how volatile the market is. We know that the average lifespan of a C-suite officer is nothing like it used to be. Many people are interim executives or fractional executives these days. They go 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, possibly 3.5 years, whatever the case may be, and then they're looking for the next gig. So they're almost like guns for hire at this point. But you want to signal stability. You want to signal that you're just not here to do a job and then move on to the next opportunity. You want to let internal folks at companies know you want to sink in and start contributing right away.
So
Building the teams, building the infrastructure, et cetera.
so let's take a look at another profile, Tamara Sipes. And so here's some things that I've really been thinking about a lot. It's like, it used to be the resume was what captured people's attention, right? But not anymore. It is the LinkedIn profile. And then, I know so many amazingly capable executives and, you know, talented professionals. And I'm baffled by the fact that they're still in job search. And, is it really a matter of the LinkedIn profile?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's take a look
Yes.
at Tamara.
It is the
She's an
first.
AI person.
Yeah, it's the first piece, first route of access. Absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, let's take a look at Tamara. Tamara hasn't been in transition all that long. But what I think is interesting about her is, I mean, she's an AI expert. And you know, I, I think she should be getting way more attention than she's getting.
Tamara, would you kindly unmute and add to that before we kind of roll into this
Yeah,
discussion?
I agree with Christy.
Yeah, why isn't anybody hiring you, Tamara?
Well, I've gotten a couple of close opportunities, and I kind of came to two finals recently. I'm waiting to
Mhm.
hear from the third one that's ongoing,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I just always feel like there is because I do interview well. I don't have a problem with feeling nervous or anything. I do feel like I'm fairly confident. I'm very experienced. I have a ton of business value that I delivered for United Health Care when I was a chief data scientist there, and for Claritive, the most recent one where I was the VP of AI. And it's just I don't know what the secret ingredient is.
Okay.
I'd like to find out.
Have you been able to match your versioning skills with what the market demands? In other words, is when we cast a net on our profiles, we have the minimum viable position. In other words, the one that we would take if we couldn't get the dream gig. So here's your ideal role. Here's your minimum viable role,
Yep,
and the
I have
net you
that.
cast on the profile is out there too. Have you been able to purvey the market and see? Survey the market to see where exactly someone with your skill sets falls into a culture?
Right. So chief AI officer is my top role I'd love to go into. I'm in my, I have 10 years of executive leadership roles in AI, ranging from startups to Fortune 4 companies, and with a really significant business value delivery. So high ROI, really great high technical knowledge of AI. Been in AI for 25 years, basically delivering business value. So chief AI officer is my top role, but VP of AI is my bottom role that I would. So anything in between is where I would go.
First thing I would suggest, you have we get 220 characters, including spaces, on the professional headline, and I believe in using every character that real estate.
Okay.
First thing I would put in front of, which I like this, I do like this because I believe in action verbs that end in ing, delivering, helping, rejuvenating, revitalizing, growing, developing. Great power words for a headline. I would put Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer, and then I would put pipe, CAIO, and you've got those search engine terms because they are coming into vogue. And then you require leadership branding, executive branding in the profile. That means to a certain point, yes, you should have some of this. But on the other side, there's a lot of corporate speak here, I think, that we could clean up a little bit, but a little bit more storytelling in the about section, because we don't really know anything about Tamara here. I'm sorry, is it Tamara or Tamara? My bad.
Camera.
Tamara, I'm sorry. Wrong accent, wrong syllable. I want to
Okay.
know more about you. What got you here? What fueled your interest in AI? Talk about those 25 years. I don't see them here.
Okay.
Don't, and by the way, no references to time. So if you say 25 years, someone may assume that you haven't updated the profile in 5, but I usually don't make references to time. But you could say a couple decades,
I do have 2 decades there in words, the very
Two
first
de-
one.
Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, there you go. Over 2 decades. Well, there you go. Uh, and then talk about what you've learned in the process. What is the value that you bring? Isolate the pain. The best marketing comes from a place of pain. Diagnose what a company is lacking and why they would need to bring you in, as opposed to you trying to fit yourself into a position that may or may not exist.
Mhm.
How do you make yourself indispensable in the profile, especially at a time when AI is just, it's dominating the agenda for every company? And that's where you capitalize. You want to talk about your role as a leader in the field, not as someone who's a future W-2 employee. You're an industrial leader in AI.
So more present tense, right?
Well, we're going to see what she's done. I mean, obviously, if they're vetting anyone for an opportunity, they're going to scroll down to the experience section. Ideally, we would want to fill in here. Let's see. And again, I haven't done the deep dive, but yeah, I mean, I think you've got enough here that's non-resume. It doesn't smack of a resume. I mean, there are people who have adopted the idea that bullet points from the resume can be imported directly into the profile for a closed role. For an open role, it's a little different because it's still going on. But for anything that is done past in the past tense, the bullet points will suffice. But yeah, there's a lot of present tense here. I like this. I think there's some. You're really onto something here, where you're really getting to the core of your value. But again, client-centric, employer-centric. What will your differentiators translate to when it comes to bottom line growth of the organization?
This is really good, and
Yeah.
we're out of time. But Tamara, does this help a bit?
Yeah, I have a ton of follow-up questions, but yes.
Well, and you probably want to connect with JD afterwards. And with that, JD, we could
Christy.
go on and on. We
Well,
could go on
I
and
got
on.
nothing
It could
going
be,
on. It's a
I know.
Friday. Come
Well,
on.
we have a hard stop, but
A hard stop.
it's hard stop. This is incredible. I really think that what you've said helps people unlock, what their key to landing a great role is. And so you've said some really tangible things that, especially in the about section, it seems like, yeah, for one, the headline, using all of the space of the headline, all 240 characters. Is that what you said?
220 characters, including spaces.
Okay.
And that is a writing challenge for anyone to condense everything they've done, can do, and will do into 220 characters and create a value statement that will be taken seriously. It's not easy. And that's why LinkedIn profiles are such heavily outsourced services these days.
Well, and that's why you're one of those outsourced services that people can really tap into. And
Stop yourself.
no, really, thank you, JD. This is very valuable.
My pleasure.
We have to do this again, because it is, and we can really dive into some ways that people can help themselves, right? And tap into the magic of LinkedIn.
I'd say you're right. A couple things before we adjourn, if that's cool. I did it at the start of our session. I'll do it again. I do encourage anyone who's been in the gallery who feels that they had questions, wanted to ask them. Ideally, our goal was to spark ideation and really help folks become self-reliant and let them start to take stewardship of their narratives. I really do teach that, taking stewardship of one's narrative. And I'm happy to continue the conversation with anybody here if they feel I'd be a good conversation partner to help them work through certain things, and contact me through LinkedIn. We'll go from there.
Yeah, and you've got that great banner. It's very eye-catching, and I like the dwell time. I got to work on that. My dwell time.
It's very important. I measure LinkedIn success. I'll leave you all with this. I measure LinkedIn success in terms of one metric alone, and that is who has viewed my profile. It's not so much the number, although I get a fair share of profile views. When I'm more active on the site, I get more views. But it's the who, and I'm the guy that does the study. I take that as a very dynamic touch point. I feel that I will always welcome people to view my page, but ideally they've walked away with some knowledge about
Yeah.
me. And now's the time. It's time sensitive. I got to get in there and make something happen.
Well, so many people are struggling, and it's like, yeah, we need to tap into you. So thank you, JD. Thank you so much. And for everyone on the call, we have another great speaker next week, which will be oh, we don't. Next week is an off week, and then we'll follow up with some information about retiring and Social Security, and but this has been really interesting, fascinating, and now I'm even more curious about how to do some of the things that I think about. But
Well, Christy,
thank you.
thank you for bringing me in. It's taken 16 years almost to get us to right here.
Well,
so I'm grateful for you.
Yeah, you've got so many great ideas, and we're going to make sure that we send out your contact information with the recording, and have people know how to get a hold of you. And thank you so much. And we want you back, and stay warm in Chicago area, and thank you, JD, from the bottom of my heart.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks,
And
for
thank you
taking time
all.
out.
Yeah, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.